over the world to entertain you on a giant screen with the few colorful motion pictures you've been hearing about and reading
It's
about.
showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
We're delighted to have you with us. They're driving theater.
You'll find something to please you to add to your evening's enjoyment.
Is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
Yo, what's going on, boys and girls? It is October 11th, I think. Time
October
is
11th.
no longer linear. I'm your host, Bo, the Boom Operator, and with me this week on the Drive-In Speakerbox, I've got a special guest. We don't have Slick Doggy in the studio tonight, but we do have a fun new person in the studio. Welcome, Tyler.
Hello, yes, I'm Tyler, the second AD. It's been a pleasure, Bo.
Second AD, huh? You just get to pick your own names around here?
Is
Is
just
this
gonna
how
do
it
it.
works? Just like Jake gets to be Slick Doggy all of a sudden because he said so you're okay.
Yep. Second AD, I was going to do Best Boy, but I feel like everyone wants to be Best Boy.
Everyone. And I've already had a Best Boy on the show, so sorry. You can be Second Best Boy if you want.
No, there's only one.
Runner-up boy or...
No runner-ups for this guy, only second AD.
Got it. Well, thanks for joining us, Tyler. We're going to be having him on the show. We're going to talk about fun horror movie related things. We're going to be talking about his horror movie that he has been working on. We're going to be talking about No Time to Die, Mr. Bund, and a lot of other fun things in the show tonight. A lot of people already tuned in on Twitch. Sorry for the late start tonight. The Twitch, hack affected us all. It was a dark time, and had to reset my stream key. I just remembered as we were going live. I'm like, wait a second, and had to go, hack the Gibson and get in there and then fix it.
So you had to hack the hack?
I had to hack the hackers, hack the planet, crash overdrive.
What happened with the hack?
Acid burn. So apparently, I don't know if you remember that kid, the apparently kid. Well, there was a huge hack in Twitch, and they released all the payout numbers of all Twitch streamers, all these stream keys, all kinds of crazy business that got released into the public, and you could probably find how much I don't make off of Twitch, and how pathetic that we can be sometimes on this show. But anyway, a total hack. It was pretty nuts. But anyway, Vince says over on Twitch, R.I.P. Slick Doggy. The storyboarder was just too strong. The storyboarder came back, and we're gonna have him on the show later. I promise you, he's coming back. He's got a new book out, Tourist Unknown. We're gonna have him in the studio and talk about his new graphic novel that he's done. Sam says over on Facebook, I thought it was Tyler the Fluffer.
Not the fluffer. I'm not even sure what that means.
Oh, what?
No.
Don't even pretend because your wife might be watching. Come on, that's a Hollywood term.
Tyler a fluffer is a Hollywood term?
No, a fluffer is a Hollywood. It's a position on set.
What's the fluffer do?
Well, boys and girls, earmuffs if you have children at home. In the adult film industry,
Oh my God.
the fluffer is what keeps the actors ready for their close-up, Mr. DeVille.
Fluffed.
Yeah, keeps them fluffed. Knox Solid says, yeah, we see you making the big bucks in these leaks. Haha. Yeah, we're just raking in the tens of dollars, but thanks to resubs like Vince just threw up there on Twitch. Thank you for those subs. Yeah, we can make the big buck. And it'll be good. All right. Well, yeah, like I said, we've got a lot of fun stuff tonight. No Time to Die. We're going to be discussing that film. We both got a chance to see it. We have not discussed it outside of the show yet. So that's going to be fun. I actually had no time to see it, really. It was a weird week.
Yeah, I've heard you're slammed, Bo.
Yeah, Nightmare on Block Street's going really, really well. For those of you that live in Fayetteville, Arkansas, or Northwest Arkansas, where we broadcast from, yeah, it's been just kicking my butt. And I actually tried to go see No Time to Die on Sunday, and my phone kept getting blown up, and everyone's like, "Oh, I got a question. Oh, I need your help." So I had to leave, in the middle of No Time to Die, right when his friend had a bullet in his stomach, and I'm like, And so I was like, all right. And fortunately, AMC A-list, so it didn't cost me anything to go see it the next day.
Oh, wow. That's great. I was going to ask.
Yeah, so I just bought a ticket this afternoon, went and showed up late, and came in right when I needed to.
Right when his buddy was...
yeah, a little bit before then, so I got to see it twice, and it was really sad.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got to check it out, so I'm going to be talking about that later in the show. But first, we need to talk about a little bit of news. Not a whole lot of interesting stuff that I really wanted to mention, but we were both laughing about this earlier in the program. We had the first look at old Timothy Chalamet's Willy Wonka. And I don't know if you've looked at this image of Willy Wonka, but we were both laughing.
He looks like Gonzo playing Charles Dickens in the Muppets Christmas Carol.
Oh, 100%.
Exactly. I mean, it's almost to a T. The coat, the hat,
the nose.
Gonzo,
and he's just not having sex with chickens. I don't know if Timothy has a chicken fetish.
He definitely has a peach fetish. If you've seen Call Me by Your Name.
Yes. He definitely
Oh, sorry,
does.
his character.
His character does. We don't know how much of that was method or bringing from his real life.
Well, story goes that the director and Chalamet said it works.
Okay.
The method that they used for that.
Peach method.
The peach method. So they would not elaborate any further than that in interviews. But
as they probably shouldn't.
Yeah.
Sam asks if there were any flatbread pizzas to be had at my AMC visit, and the answer was no, because I was craving mozzarella sticks, and they didn't have them on the menu, and they're like, "Sorry, sir, we don't know anything about anything." And I was like, "Do you know when your bar is going to get back open?" "Well, we don't have a bartender. We're hoping that maybe by the end of the month we'll have a bartender again." And I'm like, oh,
AMC's bar doesn't have a bartender?
MacGuffin's is the name of the AMC bar, and they don't have a bartender. So if you are watching and live in the Northwest Arkansas area and would like to bartend for AMC, and you're of 21 years or older and can probably pour Bacardi into a cup or tap a beer, I'm sure you could make. I wouldn't say lucrative, because I don't know how much bar patronage they get at that AMC bar, but you have the opportunity to get into the bar industry
and probably
through
see
AMC.
some free movies too.
Oh,
I would say
absolutely.
Probably some early screenings.
Oh, always.
Maybe. I don't know what benefits they get at movie theaters these days, but
I mean, I'm sure it's got to be better than the AMC A-list. Or, it's like, we thank you with discounted tickets and popcorn and free showings.
Maybe that's it. You get some stock and you're on the A-list, and they're like, "Here you go. You work for us. You pour whiskey cokes."
There you go. That are $25.
Yeah.
One time I was at a showing. I can't remember what it was, but I saw a buddy of mine I hadn't seen in a long time. He's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm getting a drink at the bar." And he's like, "Yeah, me too. We're gonna go see this movie. I hadn't been on the movie in a long time. Want to do a shot with me?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do. Okay, what do you want to shoot? Let's shoot tequila." And I was like, "All right." Here we are at AMC, just like, "Yeah, dude, let's take shots." And he orders 2 shots of the only tequila they have up there, which was Patron and Patron Silver, and we take 2 1-ounce shots of Patron Silver, and the lady's like, "That'll be $37." And I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm so sorry." Like, he's like, "No, man, it's fine. I mean, I offered. My wife's gonna be upset with me." It's like, well,
concessions, man, they'll get you.
They will get you. Anyway, Vince says George Clooney had a movie that glamorized frequent flyer. Speaking of tequila and George Clooney, glamorized frequent flyer points, which was Up in the Air, with the million points, where he got to meet like God, which was Sam Elliott or whatever, and he comes out and he's like,
"Yes,
I'm your captain now." And he says Bo needs one for his A-list points. Honestly, like my A-list points, like for those of you that actually care, I mean probably only some of our super fans, but I want to show y'all something that's really funny. I'm gonna pull up my AMC Stubbs jam here, and
that's a lot of points, Bo.
Hey, dude,
I'm looking at you.
Check it out.
Check it out.
I'm gonna bring up my but like check this out. Like I don't want to activate it. Look at all my $5 rewards.
Wow. Wow.
Like,
you could go see.
I've got some points available.
Now.
I could go definitely see some movies. It's crazy. Because they're always like, "Sir, would you like to use some of your points?" I'm like, "No, I'm hoarding them. One day I'm just going to like buy everyone in the theater like popcorn just for flex and use points, and then
This one's on me.
Yeah, and then be that guy. I don't
And
know.
everyone stands up, slow claps. Man, that'd be great, man.
Yeah, one day.
That would be
One day.
amazing.
I'm going to do it. Anyway, what are we talking about? Other stuff in the news. There wasn't a whole lot of really interesting things. I've been kind of disconnected from the news this week just because, everything's going on in my life. But Animaniacs Season 2, first look clip came back. I don't know if you watched Season 1.
I have not. I watched Animaniacs as a child, but I have not seen, so seeing Season 2 sort of freaks me out a little bit because I thought there were way more seasons than that.
Well, this is the new Animaniacs. This is
Yes.
the adult Animaniacs. And the Season 1 Return of Animaniacs was actually really good. And one of the things that they did right that I think a lot of these new reboots and rehashings have a problem with doing is they try to connect with a new audience. They're like, let's take this property that did so well in this time period and get new kids to like it. And the Animaniacs, there's a lot of those things are like lightning in a bottle. It's like they exist in a time period for a reason to connect to an audience that has a mindset of a generation that's a certain period of time. But what Animaniacs realized is that that's the audience that they need to hit, but that audience has also grown up by about 20 years. So they grew up with it, and the humor grew up with it, and they were very, very self-aware of what's going on and who their audience was going to be. So it actually ended up making it a really pretty good first season of a show that I was just like ready to hate immediately.
Yeah, you love to see it. There's a lot of that going around now, the 90s, 80s nostalgia for us 90s kids. We watched the Fear Street trilogy. We're a little bit behind on that, but we wanted to save it for October. We just now saw it.
How did you finish it?
Yes, we watched all three. We finished the third one, 1666 today. Liked it. The first one I liked a lot because of the 90s nostalgia.
Obviously.
The soundtrack was amazing. Like every song.
I thought the first one was rock solid. The second one, pretty dang good.
Yeah.
The third one, kind of a slow, creepity start, but stuck the landing.
But at the end, right. Yeah.
You
and
know-
I was making breakfast as we were watching that. And so
were watching that in the morning?
Yeah.
Good morning, honey. What do you want to do? Watch people get
1666.
put their head in a bagel slicer?
Yes.
Which is a really
That
cool
was
death
cool.
scene.
That was a great death.
Was a good death scene.
No, there's not much going on in the news.
Not much. Well, speaking of nostalgic horror, it was the 25th anniversary of Scream, which they played it in Fathom Events, I believe. They did a Fathom Events of
They had it yesterday. They might be having it again on Wednesday. I had it on my
in
calendar.
select theaters, I think.
Yeah, I know the Malco's playing it. I wanted to go see it yesterday. I just got caught up and didn't do it. I have not seen that movie in a very long time.
Ring, ring, ring.
And
What's your favorite scary movie?
And to get to
Sydney?
see that on the big screen would have been killer. That was the first movie I ever watched.
Ever?
As a child, that was R-rated horror.
Oh, okay.
That wasn't like TV edit. It was
Gotcha.
like Drew Barrymore's
Not like
guts hanging out.
Yippee-ki-yay, Mr. Falcon.
Yeah, exactly. And it scared the bejesus out of me.
It's a scary movie.
I was 10, 11 maybe when that came out.
I think that Scream is quite possibly one of the most successful and scary spoofs ever created. What people don't realize is Scream is technically like a 90s spoof of slasher films.
For sure.
That really hit the mark and made its own mark and became a bit of a cultural icon as the horror movie of the late. It was the 90s. It was like the late 90s, wasn't it?
I mean, yeah, totally. I think if you're talking about horror movies, just as far as like iconic images, Ghostface is an iconic image now because of those movies.
Well, and to this day, there's always a Ghostface costume, kids dressed up as Ghostface, and
still.
It just has such a look to it that that I think is one of the most. I mean, springboarding into talks about horror, which we're going to be talking a lot about tonight, except for when we're talking about Bond, is I think that's what every horror director that's wanting to make a really big, successful splash of a feature film is finding something so iconic that everybody wants to emulate it, and like having this thing that when you see it or hear it or think about it, you just get jarred with this moment of experience. You know, I mean, Freddy Krueger, obviously one of the biggest ones to ever hit the silver screen. Jason Voorhees, that mask, that you know, you don't really remember much about Jason Voorhees except that mask. Same with Michael Myers. That damn mask, you know, and how many movies have tried to do masks or gimmicks that just don't land?
There's a ton of them now. Look at any horror film on Amazon or most horror films on Amazon, especially the slasher ones, and they're all trying to sort of do that iconic mask look, but they all just kind of fall flat. And
I think Saw tried, and Saw only succeeded by sheer force of like saturation of it, because the Jigsaw thing, it's like,
oh yeah, the doll
and with the spiral eyes, and it's like, I don't think really anybody cares or no fear is elicited from that image, but they're just like, hey, there's 9 of these, and keep this is it, it's the spiral, get scared by it.
You know, I don't even think of that when I think of the movie Saw.
No, you
don't
don't
think of that doll.
No.
But when I think of like The Exorcist, that wasn't a mask, but that makeup, man. Terrifying. It's stuck in my head. And then that little subliminal flash of the demon face, I see that all the time.
In your dreams. I see it all the time every time I close my eyes. So Help is what I'm telling my viewers. He's going.
I see it all the time when I think of the movie. Okay. When I think of The Exorcist, that's what I see. Is the girl, and then the demon face. Yes, and vomit.
Everybody thinks of vomit. And I don't know. I always think about like one of my favorite things about the kind of like Christian. I call it Christian horror, even though it's not Christian movies, but it's horrifying Christianity tales. They're like, oh, it's demons. You know, you believe in Jesus? Well, check this out. And it's always funny how demons are always like the dirtiest fluffers that they're just like, come over here and stick it in my mouth, you dirty grandma, and you're like, what? No. And it's like a 12-year-old, and they're like going, I want to sniff your farts out my face, and you're like, what are you talking about?
Something a screenwriter has always wanted to put on screen, and this is his chance or her chance.
Well, have you ever seen, I think, what's the movie? Is it Black Christmas? I want to say where
dude, yes, the
guy on the phone.
Those are some of the most terrifying phone calls. I think it's worse than Scream. It reminded me of Scream when I first saw it. I actually saw the original.
Well, that's where Scream was referencing the phone call coming from inside the house. Like that's the movie that invented that.
Yes. Oh God, man, that movie's scary. Black Christmas I saw for the first time, I think last year, maybe the year before, the original.
That telephone call.
Man, those phone calls are raunchy. And they're weird. They've got.
It's like it's so unnerving.
Very spooky breathing and fast talking and gibberish. It can be funny.
It like the first one, like right at the beginning, is really, really funny. And the more they go along with the phone calls, they get way more disturbing.
Yes.
And then when you know that he never died, and oh shit, spoiler alert, guys, sorry, it's only 40 years old, like maybe you've seen it, but it's so good. It's such the quintessential terrifying phone call movie.
Yes.
Black Christmas, it's a great Christmas film, fun for the whole family. If you want to gather around the hearth this holiday season.
Yeah, if you really want to, make your kids be good, show them Black Christmas. Don't be risque. Don't join a sorority.
Nope.
Show them Black Christmas.
Don't drink.
Don't drink ever. No, we all know that.
Yeah. Anytime you're drinking and you're not supposed to, you're going to get an axe to the face. But don't watch the Black Christmas remakes. Especially the one that came out like 5-6 years ago. God, it was so bad.
I haven't seen that one.
It was so bad.
Yeah. I stay away from remakes for the most part.
Well, some of them can be good.
Yeah.
I know we've talked about them on the show before, but one of the ones I like to reference that came out, it's actually not even recent anymore, but Fright Night. I thought the Fright Night remake was every bit as competent and fun as the original.
There's been like 3 or 4 people asked me that recently if I've seen the new, or not the new, but the remake Fright Night. And the first one I watch almost every October. Yeah. I've never seen the Colin Farrell one ever.
Are you serious?
No, I want to. It's
good.
What's his name?
Anton Yelchin?
Anton Yelchin. Is he in? He's the kid?
He's the kid.
Oh, yeah.
And it's great.
Yeah.
Because Anton Yelchin is great.
Yeah.
And,
I like Colin Farrell, too.
It's a good one. It's a very, very good one. I highly recommend that one in terms of remakes. But speaking of remakes, one huge, not necessarily remake, but sequel horror movie coming out in theaters this week. Let's go ahead and talk about what's coming out in theaters this week because, hey man, I know we've both been waiting a long time for this one.
Yep.
October 15th, coming out, Halloween Kills. It's David Gordon Green.
Yep.
He did the previous film, and with supervision of John Carpenter. And one of the reasons that we haven't gotten it yet is because John Carpenter was very adamant about this movie being in theaters. He's like, nope, no streaming, screw that. It's gonna be in a movie theater. It'll be in October. Whenever we can go safely gather, we're gonna wait. And so we've been waiting a long time for this. Jamie Lee Curtis, of course, coming back. But also, one of the neat things about Halloween Kills that I didn't realize until I saw one of the more recent trailers, which I got to stop watching trailers. I don't know why.
I love trailers. I can't. I've got a buddy that he refuses to watch trailers. Shout out to you, Jamie Lankos. And he won't watch any trailers because they ruin the movie for him. I can't help it. I have to watch them. I have to see like every little bit. It doesn't really ruin movies for me. A couple of times I've been like, man. But I usually see the ones that have the spoilers usually come out like a couple of weeks after.
Yeah.
They're like, see it again. And I didn't
remember this part.
Right, exactly.
But in this trailer, one of the things that I learned is they're bringing back a lot of the survivors of Michael Myers from other Michael Myers films. And I guess, I don't know, they make like an Avengers style, like Michael Myers slaying team.
Dude, is Busta Rhymes going to...
I hope.
Is Busta Rhymes
from Halloween H2O, like, let's get him.
Dude,
that was
Resurrection.
Resurrection.
Yeah,
that was the good one.
Yeah, that was good.
Was it LL Cool J that was in H2O?
And H2O was LL Cool J.
Yeah, whereas my hat is like a shark's fin.
Hell yeah.
From Scam God said, sounds like my wife. Sam Greger says, Night of the Living Dead remake with Tony Todd should be required in schools. Logan Van Winkle says, it's going to be at the 112 drive-in. Oh my God, Halloween Kills is going to be at the 112 drive-in. What if they...
Yes.
Oh man, this actually really upsets me because there's no way I'm going to be able to escape Nightmare on Block Street on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday night. But if they're doing it on Sunday, I'm going to go...
Do they do Sunday showings at the drive-in? I think they do, right?
I think they do.
I don't know. Somebody check that.
But man, I want... Oh,
that would be sweet.
Because I saw the original Halloween at the drive-in multiple times. Because back... I think they did it during COVID. They used to do it years before. Every time I get a chance to go see it. One time. Actually, I don't even know if I should say this on air. Well, because if I do it again, then it spoils the deal. I'd bring my Michael Myers costume.
Oh my!
And I would go sneak out like along the side of it and put and carry it and like put it on in the bushes, and then I'd go walk through the cars, and then dude,
it's 2021. I
know you really can't do that now.
Look out!
But
I'm just saying, look out!
Ding 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 ding.
That's intense, man. That's intense. That would scare the hell out of me.
Man. But Logan says double feature with Candyman. That sounds pretty cool. Johnny Dalton says, I'm going to watch Halloween Kills streaming on my Peacock on my kid's Fire tablet. That sounds like a miserable experience.
Johnny Dalton, don't do that, man.
Don't do that.
You're not getting the full experience. How many times do we have to tell you?
Do I need to bring up the clip of David Lynch just, telling you not to watch it on your phone?
Send it to Johnny Dalton.
I'm going to send it to Johnny Dalton. He's all like, but I've got a kid. And it's like, well, when I was a kid, my mom took me to the theater and I turned out fine.
Did you hear that Jason Blum wanted to put it on Peacock because no one saw Freaky because it was in the middle of a pandemic? And he was like, well, we didn't get the audience we wanted for Freaky, so we're just going to put it on streaming, Halloween Kills, day and date, which I get that, but,
I just don't like this.
Especially horror movies. I mean, you can definitely create the atmosphere. If you're going to watch it at home, I would say do it right. Turn the lights off. And,
turn your phones off.
Put that sound bar up.
Put a pillow over your child's face.
Put your phone away.
Yeah.
And put
That's
the kids
the
to
problem.
bed.
That's the problem with watching movies at home that are meant to be completely immersive. Is you don't get immersed in it. You can't. You're going to get distracted. You're surrounded by distractions, and you just cannot get into it. And everybody's like, but it's so convenient. It's not. It's really actually inconvenient when you think about how you're consuming this media. You're like, it's the difference of like eating a granola bar in your car, like on your way to work, and being like, but I ate food, didn't I? It's so convenient. And like
The
going
American way, man.
and going and sitting at a restaurant with your friends and family and having like a meal. Like, yes, you're eating food in the car, speeding down the highway with like, it's whatever, and you're not getting any enjoyment. It's calories in your tummy, but it's convenient. And like, what if all the freaking restaurants shut down because you just kept going to convenient? You never get that good experience. Well, at least I got a granola bar in my tummy. It's like, no,
Sit down and have a meal.
just
Sit down and eat up Michael Myers.
Yeah.
Johnny-
Johnny, heat up a hot steaming pile of
The best.
Thanks for the subscription, Loge Web. Appreciate it, man. Thank
Johnny
you.
Dalton says the last Halloween was like Rocky Horror in the theater with the level of audience participation. I love that.
That is awesome.
The more the audience is in it, the better it is for everyone. I feel like some people don't like any audience participation whatsoever.
But a horror movie, big budget action movie, like those where you get wows and you get claps and you get cheers, that's fun. Vince said that's why Bo ate a full Thanksgiving dinner during the Die Hard at the theater, the American way. And that was a dare, mind you.
That actually happened?
Yes.
Oh, man.
I had some listeners dare me, and this was years ago. They were like, we were just talking about what's the craziest thing that you've snuck into a movie theater, and I was like, large pizza, blah, blah, blah. And someone like dared me to get like a full Thanksgiving dinner, and it was Vince. Okay, yeah, man, you've been listening a long time, Vince. Hell yeah. And I was like, all right, I'll do it. Watch me. And I, turkey dressing, cranberry sauce, rolls, pumpkin pie, the whole freaking works.
Wow, I'm impressed. That's impressive.
Brought it into the theater, spread it out in front of me.
How did you spread it out in front of you?
Well, I had it in my lap, and it was.
Did you sneak a table?
I should have. That would have been. I like a piece of cardboard, like really rigid cardboard that I could like fold in two and make have a tablecloth.
I think all I ever snuck into a theater. Oh, I still sneak in Raisinets in a large water. But
why do you sneak in Raisinette? What
can't
grandfather like treated you weirdly where you have to eat raisin? Who eats Raisinets?
I eat Raisinets. I love Raisinets and popcorn. It's one of the
Raisinets in popcorn or Raisinets and popcorn?
And popcorn, but sometimes I put them in the popcorn as well. But I definitely alternate Raisinets and popcorn. It's a delicious snack, and you can't get Raisinets at the movie theaters anymore.
It's a delicious snack.
It's all
paid for by the Raisinette Foundation.
Please pay me. I will eat my weight in Raisinets. I love
them. Like how do Raisinets keep getting made? Because Nestle Crunch Bar doesn't even get made anymore. It's Bunch of Crunch, which is stupid and waxy and terrible. But the Raisinets, that's as fascinating as Goobers. Like, who still? Chocolate peanuts are good,
but it's chocolate and it's the chocolate and the popcorn combo. I'm happy with M&Ms too. I just like the Raisinets and popcorn combo the most. It's what I've stuck with my whole life. I think it was my mother that introduced me to that little Raisinets and I just kind of kept doing it.
Logeweb from Twitch says Big Raisin found its way onto the drive-in speaker box.
Oh man,
Big Raisin.
I had a Big Raisin toy.
I think I have one right here.
That it used to be like right next to my toothbrush.
Here you go. I'm gonna present you with these. I'm gonna set them up for you.
Oh my God, yes.
These are everybody asks me if the drive-in speaker box set is real, and it's very real. Hang on, I got a cam for that. Check it out.
Oh, look
I've got a whole set of California raisins over here that
they're just listening to their buddy sing.
Tyler can play with while he's here on the show.
They're just listening to their buddy just spit hot fire,
belt it out there. I got those at Hardee's when I was a kid, back when that used to be a thing. Those are raisin biscuits. Anyway, let's talk about movies. So Halloween Kills coming out in theaters this weekend. Also coming out, The Last Duel from Ridley Scott. Matt Damon, Adam Driver. This Adam Driver in a lot of movies coming out these days. And I think Ridley Scott also, isn't Ridley Scott directing another movie
Gucci.
with Gucci, House of Gucci? Coming out with
Driver.
With Adam Driver. Also
Whopping 197 minutes today it was released. That Gucci is 197 minutes long.
Big movie.
I don't know. But they're coming out very close to each other in proximity, and then release dates anyway. And but probably couldn't be further from each other in style wise.
Oh, I know.
This looks a lot like Gladiator. What was the one? Heaven. Kingdom of Heaven.
Kingdom of Heaven, yeah.
The old period piece.
But this one's all about King Charles VI,
Yes.
declaring that some knight settled some dispute with a squire by challenging him to a duel, sir. And it looks awesome. Like, it's period piece, it's swords, it's Matt Damon with facial hair that looks kind of weird.
Yeah, you got the old period piece chops, or they would shave the mustache. Ben Affleck looks really weird in this movie.
He
with
does,
the blonde hair
with
like
the
that.
and
It's
the
like a
blonde
bowl
beard,
cut.
like the big blonde chin thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Driver looks like Driver.
Pretty weird. Skylar asks, "Oh my God, is that Jake's brother?" No, this is Tyler. Jake is actually on the beach, a place that I never imagined Jake ever going ever, with his hair down and his shorts on, just living his best life, and I'm super happy for him. Jordacious, number 8 over here with lots of tear wipe laughing.
Oh, that's my buddy Jordy. Hey, Jordy.
Hey, Jordy.
Thanks for tuning in.
Yeah. Jinx, you owe me some raisinets. Ugh. Jinx, double jinx, more raisinets. But those movies are coming out in theaters this week at the box office. You can check those out. So one of the things I wanted to talk about with you tonight, since you are a big fan of horror. I mean, maybe not as much as your brother Levi.
Not as much as Levi, but I do enjoy a good horror flick.
But you also just finished directing a horror short
Yes.
that you twisted my arm to help you out with, and that was a fun weekend. And I thought we could talk a little bit about that and talk a little bit about horror movies that inspire you. It is October. For those of you that are watching the live stream and not listening to the podcast at home, where you can't see what we're talking about, but it's spooky here in the studio. It's only going to get spookier. I didn't even turn my skulls on. Like, what's
Turn the skulls on, bud.
turn my skulls on. Oh, I left them on, so the battery's all running low. I'm an idiot.
Man,
Oh no,
this place is falling apart.
it is. We can't even have nice things. But yeah, tell me a little bit about your film and like your history with filmmaking and what made you want to make a short.
Well, first off, thanks for helping me out that weekend. I definitely twisted his arm and almost came off. No,
Just like a He-Man.
I started making movies back in like 2008, 2009.
And you still don't know what a fluffer is.
No, I don't know what a fluffer is.
They weren't those kind of movies, I guess.
Yeah. I went to school at UCA for digital filmmaking and worked on a lot of shorts down there, helped some buddies out. Sound production, post-production sound was kind of my forte, but took a break, moved up to Fayetteville, wasn't paying the bills of filmmaking, so...
It happens in Arkansas.
It happens.
It's a little difficult to pay the bills.
Yeah, those dreams die.
As they do.
Yeah, as they do, yeah. I got into the beer business, and then the pandemic happened, and I had this idea for a short film that had been in my head for a little bit, and then I just decided to write it, and then started asking around to see who was interested, and before I knew it, the wheels actually started turning on it. Found a perfect location for what I had in my head, and then once you do that, it's kind of hard to stop. Especially when you've got some old buddies that you used to make movies with that want to get the band back together, so to speak. That's
always nice because finding a crew is sometimes the hardest part.
Yeah, and I knew everyone personally for quite some time that we worked on this movie, and so that was great. Except for the kid, I'd never met him prior to.
So you actually had to cast.
I had to actually cast someone. My brother plays the father. My good friend Geneva plays the mother, and the kid, I had no idea who I was going to cast. Asked around. Buddy of mine said that he knew someone, so I went to meet him, and he was game. I was real nervous about that. I never directed before, honestly, ever. And then especially directing a kid was a little nerve-wracking at first, but he was a good sport. He was just excited to be there. He thought we were really cool, so he was he wrong. Yeah, he was just happy to be involved. So.
Well, so I mean, I've been in and out of the film business for a really long time, and it's always really cool to see. And I've been doing this show for probably longer than I like to admit. But one of the things that I always try to tell people about the film industry is they think that it's so hard to get into, and they think it's impossible. It's never been easier to get into the film business because anybody can make a film. And one of the things that allowed you to twist my arm was the fact that you were kind of putting your money where your mouth is. You're just like, not all these pipe dreams like, oh, wouldn't it be cool if I've always wanted to do this, but I don't have. And then there's this litany of excuses that follow. Yeah. But you're like, no, let's do this. I've had this dream. I want to do this. And you did. And but I want to ask you, for anybody that's at home thinking about this, because you wrote and directed and produced, honestly, because when you're trying to cast and everything, what was the hardest part for you about kind of trying to get it off the ground?
Well, honestly, the hardest part was finding the right kid, and then the location. When I wrote this, I had in mind one location that was I needed a basement. There aren't that many basements.
Not around here anyway.
Around here.
That's why everything's getting shot in Detroit right now. Yeah. It's like old creepy houses. Well, you need a neighborhood of them. There you go.
Exactly. Found through a friend. I mean, I'm just lucky enough to know people that wanted to help. And so that went a long way, just knowing the right people that wanted to help out, and someone who had a basement that was perfect for what I had in my head. The hardest thing is just trying to get what's in your head onto the screen, and then being okay with it not ever going to be that way. And that was really the hardest part.
Admitting is the first step.
Yeah, exactly. And then, but also scheduling, trying to get everyone, because I had a lot of the crew were from Little Rock, trying to get everyone in on the same weekend. And the biggest lesson I learned is, not to try to cram too many shots in on one day.
You got to make your days.
Yeah, but I had like 24 setups, I think, on that Saturday, and we used to do 12 to 15 back in the day, and that was a lot, But we knew what we wanted. There's not a ton of dialogue, so we didn't need a ton of sound, which was great. A lot of it
worked out for my schedule.
Yeah, a lot of it was run and gun, but we knew exactly what we wanted, and luckily I was fortunate enough to work with a cinematographer who I'd worked with years prior, who actually works for PBS down in Conway now, who knew what he was doing. I bought the camera, the Blackmagic Cinema Pocket 4K, and when that happened, it was like, okay, we're
now
doing
you got to
this.
do it.
Yeah.
So
those things are pretty affordable, like you were saying. It's pretty easy to make movies these days.
I mean, in here I've got two 4K cameras that were not that super expensive, and granted, I only push the stream at 720 for bandwidth purposes, but there they are. I mean, you can get them, you can do it yourself.
Poochie asked do you storyboard? No, we didn't on this one. I really had it all in my head. I did a shot list for sure on what we needed to get to make it happen, and then we actually had to go back and do some pickups to kind of make the edit a little smoother. But no, not for this 8 to 10 minute long short. I didn't feel the need to storyboard because we had the shot list. But you also have to, on set, you kind of have to be flexible. You're not going to get everything you want, and it's not going to look the way you want.
Especially with a skeleton crew too.
Exactly.
You work with what you got, and that leads me to one other question that before we need to move on and review Bond here, is that so 8 to 10 minutes long of a short.
Yeah.
how much time would you say that you've put into this just 8 to 10 minutes? Because that's another misconception about what we do when we're making this Hollywood magic here, is how much effort goes into it.
Yeah. Okay.
So what would you say, like just like hours logged?
A couple of months of pre-production, and then production was a whole weekend. That's Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then another Saturday for pickups, and then. And that was August 20th through the 22nd when we shot it, and I'm still doing post. I'm pretty much picture locked, which means the edit's done. Working on sound design right now. All the dialogue's been cleaned up, but we're working on sound FX, and we Foleyed a lot, which means we recorded a lot of sounds that we did not get in production. Footsteps, creaks, doors, spooky stuff.
Because they gotta, one of the things that, unlike, so when you go to a movie or a stage theater, like the theater with an R-E, and
I have a hard time not spelling theater that way. Just
theater,
the cinema,
and everybody's heard the phrase like. For the people in the back, you got to, like ham it up for the people in the back. Yeah. And that's one of the things with sound that you kind of got to do when you Foley is you got to kind of do it for the people in the back. Like footsteps in a creepy haunted house, like when you're actually in a creepy haunted house, or not that creepy, it's just a footstep. But you got to make them, you got to do all the...
The fun part is stuff. Right now, and I was going to talk to you about it, I'm going back and forth on a scene that has footsteps. I put some reverb on it so it would sound like it's in a basement, but I really want the audience to be with the character, so I might be scaling back the reverb a little bit. It sounds real clean, almost too clean. So this is my day-to-day right now, is obsessing over footsteps.
Sound. Because the thing about a footstep sound on screen is it's a storytelling element. It's a driving element into getting an audience member in the headspace, because one of the reasons that you over-exaggerate, say, a footstep on a basement staircase going down in a basement, when you're scared, it's like as a character, you're hyper aware of everything. And it's like when you're a kid and you're trying to sneak out of the house, and like you make a footstep, and in your head it sounds like you just lit a stick of dynamite, because you're like, oh my God, but it may have just been a but to the character, it's this cacophony, and that's what you try to relay in sound design, is how do you make those things elicit that same feeling to an audience. It's
just another storytelling device. In most normal situations in a film, you only hear a few footsteps, you don't hear all of them. That's one of the situations I feel like you would hear all of them. And then just to go back to your original question, I have no idea how many hours I've spent on this thing. I mean, it's been, I wrote it finished the script probably in January, February, I would say. Kind of put it off, kind of came back and did some rewrites. And then, golly, I don't even know how many hours. A lot. Just for 8 to 10 minutes. That's right. Yeah. But when these pros who do it, they have a lot of people that are really good at everything that I'm talking about, that do everything for you. And when we did it, it was like you were saying, bare bones skeleton crew. So
yeah. Well, one of these days maybe we'll show it here on the Drive-In Speakerbox after he's got some distribution, or it's shown some places. We'll show it here. We've been talking about it. I'm going to twist his arm for that. So
definitely will happen.
But speaking of things that take way too long to pull off, let's talk about No Time to Die. I have my No Time to Die cup here that I got at the theater. I paid an extra 75 cents, and I want everybody at home that's not listening to just the podcast, that's watching the live stream, look at that date on the bottom. April 2020, right there.
That's a collector's item
right there, which is not the date that this movie came out, but it was the date it was supposed to be when all the merch was made from Coca-Cola. And that was the only reason I was like, I want that cup, because it's just like, because I want to get the Top Gun ones too, because it's even further away. But No Time to Die, the new Bond film in theaters right now. This is what is this? The 20 billionth Bond film?
I have no idea.
It's up there.
Is it 26 or 27? I feel like the 25th
billion,
happened.
20 billion, 30 million billion. But it is the last one with Daniel Craig, and one of our viewers, Logan, we were discussing not in chat but off camera, we were talking about, he's a huge Bond fan, and we were discussing all of the interesting things about why this Daniel Craig storyline of Bond has, like, Spectre has kind of been sort of in, sort of out, and then like hyped up real big and then downplayed real big, but it was all due to licensing rights. And they didn't have the rights to use the Spectre name and character arcs from the original novels because someone else had the rights to it. And that's why in Quantum of Solace, Spectre's there, but they can't say Spectre, and it kind of feels like, well, you should have been setting up Spectre more for it to be a big thing, but they couldn't. And that was like, oh man, okay, a lot more things make sense now, because in No Time to Die, that was some of my biggest complaints about this movie, is it's supposed to be this crescendo of Daniel Craig's Bond and just 007 in general, and some of these big things, these character arcs that we've been watching several movies to get to, they're like, well, wrapped that up real nice. Yeah. And but I will say, I had a really good time watching this movie, and I think a part of it is, I don't know how they talked Cary Fukunaga into directing this film, but he is just a brilliant cinematographer and director. He's a very hands-on producer, director, cinematographer, and he's really known for, Beasts of No Nation. He was really hands-on with that, which was really great. And then, of course, It, really hands-on with that.
He was the supposed to be the director on It. Fell off with Manchetti. But man, True Detective season 1.
True Detective
was a jam.
His visual style, Beasts of No Nation, True Detective. He just has an eye, a cinematic eye that makes it. I can't find a better descriptive word than it feels like a movie.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? In a way that. When every hammy AMC or Regal Cinemas before thing where it goes, the reason you go to the movies is experience magic, and you got some the flavor of the week actor that's just like, this is where tragedy feels good and blah blah, and they try to make this you as a viewer like going, this is why you go to the theaters. Well, this cinematography is why you go to. This is what a movie feels like, and it's just a beautiful movie to watch.
Yeah, I was blown away by some of the shots. Honestly, there was a couple of scenes in particular, but one where he does the famous, he pulls the gun in the circle, and
he does the twist,
and they do it in the movie,
and it feels
fits,
okay,
and it's just, I was just like, oh shit. There's a lot of there was a lot of moments where my brother and my friend Brady were just like, geeking out. There's a lot of really cool things that happen in this movie. Well, you get what you normally get with Bond. You get the cars, the suits, the girls, the set pieces, the explosions,
the gadgets.
But what I think, just to kind of paste with what you're talking about with Fukunaga, is they just have he just does it so well. He makes those moments so well that you just want to cheer. And
every place feels exotic in a way that doesn't feel real.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of movies that take you to exotic locales, and you're like, oh, well, that's a tropical island, or that's a European town. But Carrie's like visual style is ethereal in a way that makes it seem larger than life. Like even London, like I've been there, but just shots of London just seem like this just very special place, and that's the power of a good cinematographer, a good DP, a good director that cares about that kind of stuff. And with this Bond, I know a lot of people have kind of complained. They're like, oh well, he's not my Bond, but I think Daniel Craig, what he brings to the Bond table is he's been the most physical Bond that's ever actually doing stuff and actually being in shape and actually rolling out of cars, and it's one of the reasons that this movie took so long to make is because he broke himself a million. That's why he doesn't want to do it anymore. He's like this. Yeah. He's like, being Bond's cool and all, but my body can't take this, and I don't want to do it anymore.
It's like Batista not wanting to do Drax anymore.
He's like. Either I get to wear clothes or I don't want to be Drax. And they're like, well, you're not going to be Drax anymore because you got to have your shirt off. And he's like, I'm 54. Can I wear a shirt, please?
One of my favorite scenes in this new Bond movie is when they go to Cuba and they meet, Ana de Armas. She's that's one of my favorite set pieces. It had this weird, this party they infiltrated. I'm not going to spoil anything if you haven't seen it. It has this, Eyes Wide Shut vibe to it that I was
thinking that as well.
Yeah, especially with
Fidelio.
Yeah, especially with the spotlight. I just thought that was a well done scene. But one of the reasons I bring it up, one of the reasons it's my favorite, after it gets real doom and gloom, they have to escape, and it's pretty funny. The action's really light, but well done. But
that's where it harkens back to other Bonds, without being tongue-in-cheek about it.
Well, I saw Fukunaga was going to be the director, and I was like, and that's Craig's last one. I was like, this is going to take itself way too seriously. That's what I was afraid of.
But it had its moments. Those timing moments, where he stands up and brushes himself off, grabs a drink, and
man, he drank a lot in this movie. He was doing shots
all the time.
He drank a lot in this movie,
and because that's some classic Bond,
Yeah.
And I think that I will say that he's probably become one of my more favorite Bonds because I do love, and I think I've talked about this on a previous show about just the idea of Bond being a tragic character.
Yeah.
Because everybody think it's shaken not stirred. Always get the girl, but what a sad life. If you really take it into context and put all the context into what it means to be this guy,
they won't leave him alone.
And there's
they won't.
And there's little tiny lighthearted digs, and there's one moment that it was a lighthearted moment that got really dark really fast between two friends, and the line was so well written, and it was just a quick you would blink and miss it, but it was when excuse me, I'm not drinking enough Perrier right now. It was between Jeffrey Wright's character Felix and James. There he goes, man. I just want to get out of this and just be back to my family. Don't you? And then there's this moment, just an instant moment where Daniel Craig's character's like, screw you, dude. What family? I hate my life, and it takes that Bond doesn't have anything to come back to.
No, and it's one of the things my wife said when we came out was just, I just wish they would leave him alone and let him live in his hut in Jamaica. The government just needs to leave him alone. Why is it always him? And that's the tragedy of it. That's the tragedy of that character. I think they've done a great job with this saga. They didn't wrap up everyone perfectly, but I thought it was a pretty well done send off to the Daniel Craig Bond. Yeah, definitely wasn't the best, but it definitely wasn't the worst.
And I think Rami Malek was a pretty cool villain. I mean, he's a very creepy Bond villain, but again, just paper thin, like most Bond villains tend to be.
Loge Webb says the layer, man. Yeah,
classic villain in the layer.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was the same layer that they used in Blade Runner 2029.
I was going to say 2049. And his character even reminded me of Jared Leto's character. Jared Leto could have definitely played that. And Rami Malek could have played Jared Leto's character.
Vice versa.
And it also reminded me sort of Ex Machina, the Oscar Isaac's layer in that one. Great.
But it hits all the beats. I thought that Lashana Lynch as as Nomi, tastefully done. you hear us complain sometimes about how sometimes they try to check boxes of diversity and inclusion in films. And
did you see they brought in to write her lines? Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Or
I did not.
Whatever from Fleabag. She's man. We were watching the credits, and first thing I noticed was Billie Eilish was the song. I didn't recognize that at first.
That was a great song.
It was, and then Hans Zimmer did the score, and then Ryder, Phoebe, I can't, Waller-Bridge or Walter Bridge or something like that from Fleabag.
But what works is it all feels natural.
Yeah.
It feels good. I mean, Moneypenny is there. You know, you got Ana de Armas like just kicking ass and being a great character, and not having to like have sex with him or anything. It just you know, and Lashana Lynch carries her own weight without being like oh well, look at me, I'm a girl and I do things better than you. It's like no, they exist in this world together, and she's a badass, and that's awesome. And then she's awesome.
She's awesome. She's great. They're all great. Ana de Armas is just, not to go back to her, but her character's just so
marry us, I think, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah, she's just funny. I think there's a lot of more humor in the movie than I thought. Anytime Ray Fiennes says, "Come on, Bond, where the hell are you?" I get excited.
His voice is such a, I mean, as M, he's just great.
I just think he's funny. I mean, I can't help but look at him and laugh from In Bruges.
In Bruges.
Just one of the great comedic performances of all time,
just
I think.
Angry, filthy mouth, murderous Ray Fiennes.
And his character in these films always reminds me of if that character wasn't so broken.
On a razor's edge of turning into that character.
Yeah, what could have been.
But another thing that I really like is, you know, performance from Lea Seydoux as Madeline, you know, the love interest here. Yeah. It was a good, strong love interest. One of the things that I don't like about the old Bond films is how the love interest is always like, I thought Christmas only came once a year, kind of bullshit, you know, and it's like, oh, save me, James, you know, and she exists on screen as her own character that's not some sort of femme fatale, not some sort of damsel in distress, that the character actually has some substance and some weight, and where the scene where she just like starts capping dudes, and it just felt normal, and it felt like it existed in the world without having to spoon feed us any bullshit, and
which is always a plus. I always appreciate that, and also, you know, when studios realize that they might need to backtrack on what the problematic things that James Bond. I mean, it's hard for me to even watch the older Bond movies. I mean, I grew up watching them; they were a thing, you know, in my household. Especially around Christmas time for some reason, and I think everyone was doing like marathons or whatever.
Christmas comes more than once a year, Jazz.
And as a kid, I always looked up to Bond, but then as I got older, I was like, man, this guy is just
and that's the thing,
saying some inappropriate things.
Is the character on screen has been problematic for a long time, but my problem with problematic content that they want to continue to use the property is it's a pendulum that polarizes and goes immediately to the opposite pole, and instead of finding that middle where it needs to sit, they're like, well, it was bad, so let's do the exact opposite, but not realize we're doing it bad, just different. And you gotta, it takes work and effort, not just flipping to make, you know, sins of the past kind of find their center.
They did a great job of stitching what makes Bond so popular and what makes Bond so great in with sort of a, like you were saying, sort of a new way of especially handling the female characters in this film. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, all right. Well, that is No Time to Die, and we have no more time to talk about it because we are almost out of time. And it's in theaters right now. Sounds like we both enjoyed it. I mean, it's a long one, 2 hours and 45 minutes. It's a beast, but it didn't feel like it.
It didn't feel like
it at all. So you can check that out in theaters right now. And speaking of theaters, we're gonna run through the box office real quick. I only want to do the top 5. Well, actually, we'll do the top 8 just because there's a movie in there that we wanted to mention. So we'll start with that. Number 8 was Lamb, opening up with $1 million in theaters. Only 583 theaters nationwide, but that's
wow! It only got that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, we didn't get around here, but the latest from A24. Hoping to check that one out here sometime in the near future.
Definitely.
Number 7, Dear Evan Hansen, bringing in another another million in its third week in release. Only $13 million at the box office. Not getting good reviews there.
Well, that's what happens when you cast a 30-year-old to play a 16-year-old.
I know. I was just like, what are they doing? What are they doing? And that's one of those things where a stage does not always translate to screen. Let's see. Number 6, Free Guy, bringing in $1.2 million in its 9th week. Still out there for 9 weeks. That's a lot. It's still in 1,400 theaters. You're not missing much. 119 million at the box office. Number 5, the Many Saints of Newark, bringing in 1.4 in its second week in release. Only 7 million at the box office, which is pretty low considering it's in over 3,000 screens nationwide. But I do believe it's getting a lot of views on HBO Max because it's Sopranos, and that's where people watch it. Number 4, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, bringing in 4.3 in its 6th week in release. $212 million at the box office for Walt Disney, doing very well overseas as well. It's quite a successful film for Walt Disney Studios. Number 3, Addams Family 2, bringing in $10.1 million in its second week in release from United Artists Releasing, so far bringing it up to $31 million in its second week. Number 2, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, just coming in hard again with another $31.7 million. Like, what? How?
We talked about this before the show. I mean, we're trying to list why this is such a popular franchise, and it's got to be Tom Hardy. It's got to be the campy humor. It's got to be
buddy
the
copy villain.
You know, good guy
Woody
villain
Harrelson.
and anti-hero.
Yeah,
Woody Harrelson. Yes, God, that poster was awful. If you've not seen his face on the poster,
or
Woody
his
Harrelson,
haircut,
it doesn't look real. It doesn't look like a human being.
It's weird. It's a funny. I mean, I reviewed it last week. You can check out our review online, and it's a movie. You can check it out. It reminds me of a late '90s, early 2000s kind of like superhero-y action movie, and I don't know.
I need to see it. I haven't seen it yet.
It's a thing, but it's brought in $141 million nationwide, so that's pretty big. And of course, the number 1 movie in America, No Time to Die, only bringing in $55 million at the box office. I thought it was gonna. Honestly, I thought it was gonna do more than that.
Me too.
But
I thought it would get closer to the 75, 80, maybe even 100.
Because all the hype, it's been, everybody's been waiting. So we will see what it has to show over the next couple of weeks. But anyway, that's our show. I know we didn't get to talk about a lot more horror movies, but maybe you'll come back sometime. Maybe we can have another chance to talk.
I would love to come back, Bo. Thanks for having me. This was a blast. I honestly could talk for another couple of hours, but
usually when we get sitting and talking about movies, that's what happens. We're like, oh shoot, look at the time, because you're like at work and you come by Pinpoint and you're just
Pinpoint's my favorite.
I've only got like 5 minutes, and then an hour later you're like, oh, okay.
I've gotten many parking tickets because I put in one quarter thinking that an hour would be long enough to sit there and talk with you, Bo.
No,
and
never is. Never is. Just like tonight. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. Appreciate all of you guys. Thanks for the subs, everybody that threw us out there on Twitch. Thanks for your bucks. It helps pay for some of this rent. Some of this rent's too damn high. But anyway, we'll be back next week, same time, same channel. I got to scoot because I've got seances to attend at Pinpoint Nightmare on Block Street. There are still some tickets available for a couple of shows this month. A lot of them selling out really, really fast. So if you want to get info for that, you can check it out over on nightmareonblockstreet.com and conjuringseance.com. So you can do that as well. So anyway, I'm your host, Bo, and this is Tyler.
I'm Tyler, the second AD,
the second
I think,
AD.
is what we decided on.
And thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll catch you next week.